Thank you for staying with us. And the conversation this morning is essentially about the state of the Nigerian nation. Where are we right now? Occasionally, periodically, we take up, these duty, and of course, we do it daily. But then the duty of asking ourselves, where are we as a people, as a government? The progress being made, the challenges being faced, chartering a new course forward. And of course, we do that with eminent men and women. We have with us, another one in that series, to look into the state of the nation with us in an unbiased way, bereft of political affiliations and status and tribe and tongue and language, just as a Nigerian of repute and knowledge. The president yesterday had his maiden presidential media chat, and he spoke on a range of things, from the economy, from his policies to his cabinet and his projections for the new year and where he thinks Nigeria is right now, where we were before, and the reality of what we are facing right now and what we need to do and how courageous some of his policies are, because he just had to take it. Using his words, it was more like Nigeria was living a fake life, spending the future, before. But now somebody must just say it is over. The party, that fake party is over. And now we come to our reality. I allow you, to take a look into that, an excerpt of that particular video. Take a look.
Why are the people corrupt? So, the lack of social amenities, the lack of needs in some areas, lack of funding for their children's education. There are so many anti-corruption mechanisms that you can put in place that will help the people not to be corrupt. Pay them good and living wages. I have moved from 35,000 to 70,000. To me, that's anti-corruption. And if I can earn more, I'm giving more money to the state and local government level. I've been transparent with my earnings. Every month there is a publication as to how much this country is making.
But Mr. President, it doesn't address grand corruption. There's petty corruption and there's grand corruption. Only recently, the EFCC, published the fact that one person owns 735 houses in Abuja alone. One person.
And we got it. You don't know how long it has started. He did fantastic infrastructure. He had rule of houses. But we get it. That's anti-corruption too. We got it for the public. Disclosure, abilities to stem corruption is part of the instruments of EFCC. That is why they are discovering. Also,
all right, thank you for staying with us. That was the president. Actually, I had the presidential media chat yesterday. Because of time, we just had to take excerpt of that. You still get to see more in the course of the program. He spoke on a range of issues, but then to shed more light into what the feeling was yesterday, how forthright, or if the president really exhumed what the nation expected of him in that media chat, that had eminent journalists scattered across media stations. We have with us today a public affairs analyst and, of course, the Director General at the Heritage Center in Abuja, Dr. Karl Chanoneju. He joins us virtually. Good morning, sir. Good to have you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. Good to have you again. Now, what do you make of that outing by the president yesterday? Really now, his achievement, his thought about the nation on a range of issues. Your thought?
Oh, well, I think he did very well in trying to explain for us to hear him. It is left for us to listen to what he says and then interrogate them, try to match them with realities that we have on the ground. The reset brought about by the removal of government's intrusion in the energy market, which you call removal of subsidy, that was a good one. But then, like everybody has said, and most commentators, is the management, is the move of what you do after the subsidy has been ended, and then what goes on from there. That's what we're looking at. So for me, I think so far, so good. Despite the economic difficulties, I'm very happy for the removal of subsidy. But what I'm not happy about is implementation. Implementations have not seen the palliatives being properly in place in a way that you could actually ameliorate the negative effect of this policy on the cross-section of Nigerians from all over the country.
All right. Apart from, the removal of subsidy, the president spoke about corruption, when he was being asked his move and what he's been able to do, his anti-corruption drive. He said part of it is that he has been able to pay a decent minimum wage to the workers, to say you can't stem corruption without good, remuneration. To say he has taken it from the previous 33,000 or 30,000 naira rather, although the president said he has taken it from 35 to 70,000 naira. That's him fighting corruption, as well. Do you buy that? Although many persons will say you have promised, and you promised to backdate it till July this year, and you have not paid any, except he's paying this money. But he said they thought that he has agreed to more than double the minimum wage is a drive against corruption. You agree?
I don't agree to that. The minimum wage has been increased to 70,000. That's not enough. If when he took over power and the policies he brought about saw a tripling of the cost of issues, the foreign exchange went from about 4 something to 1,000 to the 500 plus. So what I think is there should have been a tripling of that minimum wage to actually be able to help the workers face the realities in the marketplace. But that's as it may be. What we are asking about is if he has stopped corruption, I don't think that's true. That's still corruption left, right, and center. But I am impressed that the government seems to be listening. When we complain, he reacts. But the idea of now bringing draconian reactions that people will be jailed for doing exactly what the president did, remember? I don't think that is proper. So that high-handedness in being very jittery at the public reactions to corruption and other ways of government officials, I think that is not proper. When you are afraid about free speech, that itself is corruption. If you want to fight corruption, allow the people to speak. And then, as they say, you judge from there, not try to stifle the voice in a very plural society where one thing that is unique is dissent. So I believe the ability to keep an alternative opinion must be respected. That in itself, it's where the corruption problem is. The attempt to stifle dissent voices I think that itself, it's a fight that actually wouldn't do well if he's talking about fighting corruption. Allow people to criticize your government. Allow those who dissent to express your opinions, and then you learn from that. Don't allow the police to be given instructions like if you say anything government official don't like, will come against you. That I'm against. But economically, I think the president has done well. I commend him for removal of subsidy. Yes, it is very, very painful at the very beginning, but if the government officials and the government itself listen and do what it is that they hear in the criticisms, which I now say nobody should threaten those who criticize with anything like arrest. And then the government will have enough feedback to actually do the right thing for the people. So I believe the fight against corruption is an ongoing event, and we have to do it and do it very well.
Right.
Okay, sir, the president talked about insecurity, and he said he's not going to probe his service chiefs because he knows that they're doing well. Although he said that definitely there will be leakages in different areas. But what would you say about the insecurity of the state so far?
Insecurity is still there, though I will commend President Tinubu for one thing. In 8 years of Buhari's helping of insecurity to fester everywhere, there was no arrest of the kingpins who were actually massing militia men and using them to force the takeover of ancestral lands in the Benue Strait. So when Tinubu came and arrested Bello Abdullahi Bodejo, that's why you have peace today in the Nasarawa Benue axis. You see, Buhari didn't do that for 8 years. So that I commend him for. Secondly, you had Asare Bokobo complaining that Tinubu and the governors in the East are not paying him money. That I commend the president for. What you're hearing Asare say is that the staged operation called the unknown government sting operation perpetrated by the Buhari government, Tinubu has stopped paying to support such things, and that I support. I'm sorry. I believe the stoppage of violence in eastern Nigeria is as a consequence of the president stopping to fund that operation called unknown government sting operation. And that's why you see, since they stopped funding it, there is peace all over eastern Nigeria. And what did you see? Asare Gokobo complained that Tinubu is not paying him and his group the money Buhari and Co were paying him and his group. And I want people to understand this. I traveled to the East and I noticed beforehand, live, sorry, because I went to places like Osomohi, I went to Hiala, I went to Seke, I went to Olo, and I was very impressed. Life has returned back to normal. And I knew, as Abacha said, if insecurity lingers for 48 hours, the government has a hand. So when Tinubu came and stopped to have any link with Asare and his group, the insecurity in the East stopped. And you saw Asare complaining that he's not been paid for 34 months. What does that tell you? The insecurity has stopped. It has stopped because those were the groups Bichi and Buhari were using to undermine the security of the East. Same thing they were doing in the North, using the Mieti Allah Katuhore to try to take ancestral land from people. And that's why I told you earlier, the arrest of Bello Abdullahi Bodejo by the Tinubu administration is the reason we today have peace in the Benue, Plateau, and Nasarawa axis. So he has done a lot, but he has not yet finished. Why do I say this? I seek that indigenous people who are currently headed into IDP camps should not be returned. And I also want him to interrogate the roles played by the security officials who work with Buhari, who Tinubu has not done anything about. A lot of them are the ones who actually fomented, who helped Buhari to carry out that policy of killing Nigerians because Buhari was seeking for land. Thank God Tinubu's government doesn't have that agenda of trying to get land by force to resettle Fulanis across Nigeria. Thank God Tinubu's government has stopped the funding of the unknown government sting operation, and that's why you hear publicly Asari Group complain. So I give kudos to Tinubu. That's why today the Igbos are coming back to the east in big numbers, you know, and I commend them, and I commend them very well.
All
so
right.
there are tangible results
Right.
in regards to peace all over the country, peace on a scale that we didn't enjoy under Buhari, because Buhari's government expressly supported and promoted those activities of the Fulani militiamen across Nigeria.
All right, Dr.
The
Kaj.
Tinubu administration didn't support that, and for that I commend him. And for that I tell you, insecurity has gone down to a substantial level. But what now remains is to take the indigenous people removed from their ancestral lands back to their villages and ancestral lands, and those people occupying the places removed by
All right.
security services. And that's why I think he should probe the loyalty of those security men. Their loyalty should be to the Constitution, not to Buhari.
An
And that's where
individual. All
Buhari
right.
got it wrong. So let Tinubu not rest on his oars. Let him
All right, Dr.
continue.
Kaj.
Yes.
Yeah. Still on insecurity, before we go to other sectors that the president talked about, he said, today, I have confidence in my security architecture. It is very, very unfortunate that, 2 decades of wanton killing. I remember when I jumped into the campaign, I had to stop the campaign to pay condolence visit to Madiburi, Katsina, Kajuna, Kola. Today, you can still travel the roads. Before now, it was impossible. It took one incident to mess up an organized environment. That's part of what the president talked about. So one would say, you have talked about maybe the security has improved in the east. I say it's not only the eastern corridor that we have in Nigeria. In fact, this morning, the newspaper recorded that in Plateau, the attack has begun again. 14 people reportedly have died. Bandits are still running riot in Niger. And even the governor said it confirmed. These are some of the things that we still see. Bandits still come on the road to waylay buses, remove passengers and abduct them. Like a month ago, we had a situation in which explosive, were put on the road and people ran into it as well, and it caused death. These are some of the things we are still seeing. And the president is saying, I have utmost confidence in my architecture. And this is the language the President Muhammadu Buhari, when he was in power, kept using to say, I have confidence in my security architecture as well. The same thing is being said. All is not clear. Some parts of the country are still ungovernable. And that's the truth.
You are describing two scenarios. Buhari actively fomented, advised, guided, and in place the insecurity.
How did he do that?
Sought to gain land to resettle people. Fulanese said to come from all parts of West Africa into Nigeria. Tinubu has started to do something, but he has not finished. That's why I said he has not finished. That's why I say among the security chiefs, there are those still with the Buhari mindset. Tinubu has not yet weeded out of the security architecture those people who are very, very politely available to the intentions of the Fulani militia people who are killing Nigerians across northern Nigeria. So it has not stopped. I'm aware that you have crisis all over the north. And that's why I said, yes, you've removed the army chief, and his family claimed he was killed. Whatever it is, let the new chief guide himself. Let him understand that if he is going to go on to fight the Fulani militiamen, he should understand that there are officers inside the security services that might want to oppose his ways. And that's why I say the security chiefs, not all of them are clean yet. Those people who work with Buhari to sustain the insecurity, those who work with Buhari, who look the other way, whereas foreigners killed Nigerians wantonly, those people
All right. It seems we're having connection issues with Dr. Catch. We'll try and reestablish that connection because, the issue of security, it's very important one, the one that cannot be compromised. No serious nation to compromise that. And so, what the president is saying, I have ultimate confidence in my security architecture. That's fine as well. Dr. Catch, are you with us now?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, you made a
What
point.
the president is saying is not totally true.
Yeah.
He may have confidence in the people he has asked to now man security architecture. We Nigerians, we will need only to build confidence in them through their actions, not the rhetoric that they are now spewing. If the killings are still going up in places like Savannah, I know that because Savannah is still not safe. Kankara is still not safe. Bungudu is not safe. There is still crisis all over the Goberwa areas of Sokoto State. There is crisis in Ensadao. There is crisis in Malele. There is crisis in Anka. So the insecurity is not gone. It may have come down in the east, like you saw the index that was published by the Statistics Office telling you that the east is the least affected area in terms of this insecurity. It is true. The East is the least affected area. What you saw in the East were just actions done by skit makers who were working to promote government's reason and give government alibi to come here and do their unknown government sting operation. Thank God, and we thank Tinubu for not paying Asani Dokubo and his team to continue to kill Igbos in the East. But there's something to be done up north. In the north, states of Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, states like Niger State, Plateau State, they still have problems. Yes, I may say that the problems in the Benue Plains and the Mambila areas have cooled down, but there is problem also in Cross River because the people who left Gimbu are now causing trouble in Cross River State. Take that from me. So we have not yet solved the crisis of insecurity generally. No. Tinubu needs to appoint people he knows can go in there and without the officers who are conniving. I agree with General Danjuma when he said officers were colluding. There are still people in the army who collude with these militia people. So get rid of those people who collude. That is the truth. And they are there.
All right.
So we are not yet out.
Yeah,
of
Doctor, quick one. Let me just add it because the president, you know what to say it. You brought the issue of President Muhammadu Buhari up and how, not just you, so many persons said maybe he was lethargic. He allowed many things to just pass. Now, for the benefit of the man that is in charge right now, every hands must be on deck. The Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, few days ago, like a week ago, thereabout, released, through the Crime Experience and Security Perception Survey, that between 2023 and 2024, that is May 2023, when President Tinubu took over, and April 2024, earlier this year, about 2.2 trillion naira, has been paid in ransom. And, the least, that has been paid was, in the southeast, just like we have said, and the worst of it came through the northwest, in which they pay 1.2 trillion naira. That is more than half a region. That was how much has been paid in ransom, at least from a recorded and official survey carried out by Nigeria's Bureau of Statistics. 2.2 trillion naira. Mr. President Bola Tinubu is scoring himself to say he's doing well and he has confidence. What kind of confidence is that?
What he's telling you is that he has finally owned the political will to do the right thing.
When the people are paid more than 2 trillion?
Listen, what he's just telling you, his confidence is based on his understanding that he now has the political will to do the right thing. That's rhetoric. But to really do it properly, he needs to weed into the security architecture and remove those who General Danjuma said collude with these militias. Look, it was because Buhari allowed those people, they were coming into Nigeria with guns. They're not Nigerians. Most of them who did this up north speak Bambara and French. They're not Nigerians. Most of them came from Mali. some from Central African Republic, some of them from Senegal. So we believe that the ill that Buhari caused this country will not be resolved in a single year. It will take us time to weed out from the security architecture those who General Danjuma was saying was colluding with these militia people. They were colluding. That was why the Nigerians lost hope and started paying money to stay alive. And I said this on television at the time, that Buhari was funding this insecurity by giving them money and allowing them to kidnap people as a way for them to get funding to fund their operation. So it was a multifaceted business. When we refused to give Buhari land to resettle Fulanis across Nigeria, Buhari now thought the best way to do was to allow Fulani militiamen to go on industrial scale ethnic cleansing maneuvers to be able to take land from Nigerians all over the north. That's why you see the Hausa community are complaining. They are even now complaining against the National Council for Islamic, affairs. The Hausas are the people that suffer the most under General Buhari's rule. But you see, most of us Nigerians didn't know this because the Hausas don't talk. And some of them were very afraid of being visited with violence by the
All right.
So now that Buhari has come, let him weed out those bad eggs in the security architecture
All right,
who
Doctor.
were colluding,
Yes.
who still collude, who still keep quiet today as insecurity ravages not in
All right.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay, Doctor. You talked about giving him some time. Ordinarily, Nigerians would wonder, be like, we're suffering. If you're looking at the fuel subsidy, removal of fuel subsidy, and the amount which we're buying fuel for now, it cannot be compared to what we were doing, what we were buying it for in the previous administration. So what do you have to say? President Tinubu said we were wasting our future, we're selling our future. But Nigerians wouldn't see it like that. They feel like we're still suffering, and Tinubu is talking about the future. How about now? What are we supposed to do about now?
Yeah. Can you hear us, Doctor? All right.
Okay.
We'll try and establish that question again. The connection rather. So we move on in these, and I quite agree. With that submission to say the president said we have lived fake life before.
Yeah.
The fake party is over. Now this is the reality, and whatever pain we are going through, part of what he said is that that the hallmark of a good leader is to do what needs to be done at the right time, and that is my philosophy. He went further to say it is not going to be a Dorado for everybody, but the new dawn is here. I'm convinced, and you should be convinced, and you should help to propagate that conviction. And just we ask you and say, you are convinced.
You're convinced. How long?
Maybe we are not.
How
Maybe
long
I'm
is
not.
this
And he's
conviction?
telling, he was telling the journalist there, said, you people should propagate the conviction. I just to say, what is the conviction? What is the quality of my life
Yeah.
I was living last year and what I'm living right now? It's not just about the fact that there is something that we have to do. Many persons will say, all right, how come these pains that you are talking about doesn't affect you people? Isn't leadership supposed to be by example?
Of course.
We are not asking that you should be suffering and then you should be wearing tattered clothes like the rest of the people. But then when the lifestyle, the convoy, the billions, the cars, nothing has changed in the ways you guys are living your life. But you keep telling the people that they should be the one to bear it.
Yeah.
That's the disconnection that Nigerians are not having.
Nigerians should be patient.
Yeah.
And Nigerians would wonder, how long should we be patient?
For how long?
How long is this patience
People talk
going
about,
to carry us?
tightening your belt. Some will tell you, I don't even have a belt again. No more trouser. Some Nigerians are naked.
Of course.
In a manner of speaking. Yeah. All right. Dr. Catch, can you hear us now? If you can hear us.
Undermine my link.
All right. Can you hear us right now?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
All right. My colleague asked the question.
Okay. I asked a question regarding the removal of fuel subsidy. Nigerians ordinarily would say that we are suffering. in this time, and the amount of which we bought fuel, we are buying fuel right now, is not what we bought in the previous administration, because you've been comparing the previous administration with this current administration. And the president said we've been spending our future. And Nigerians would want to ask, why are we talking about the future when right now we are suffering? Are we even aware? Are we even certain we're going to leave it into the future?
Well, what he meant by spending in the future is simply that we are not investing in infrastructure. We're not investing in anything, but we are borrowing, and that borrowing affects our future. So why don't we use the money we have to actually run the country instead of doing subsidy, which ends up in the pockets of some very few people? You saw how it went under the Buhari administration, and of course, you know the history of Nigeria government not having the political will to interrogate corruption. So it's all you get is relief service. So instead of creating a scenario like the subsidy regime that actually gives rise to that widespread looting of public resources, cancel it. And that's why I kept saying the subsidy regime amounts to an exercise that allows the Nigerian government to become intrusive in the energy market, and they distort the market. So right now that the government has gone out of the energy market, you now create a very clean market, and with time, the market will become as vigorous on its own that whoever comes into the energy market will understand what they are doing. And look at how very humongous the energy market is. So I think it was a good thing to get out of that sustained government intrusion in the energy market, which he called subsidy. It wasn't subsidizing nothing. It was pure corruption. Yes, it's very difficult for us to react to once it happens, but I'm sure we're going to get used to it. And once we get used to it, we move on. Let's now strengthen our resolve to demand from the government that the money so saved should now be invested properly, and that is in line with his words of fighting corruption. So let's not stay back. No, democracies only work well when citizens participate in interrogating government, in demanding for better things, and also in questioning the motives of government officials. When you keep quiet, the democracy will die. Because any democracy without an opposition is not a democracy, it's a dead one, and challenge democracy.
Doctor.
So we need an opposition from everybody to be able to interrogate what the government does.
All right, Doctor, you said in the previous administration, before the removal of subsidy, we were borrowing. Are we not borrowing now?
We're not borrowing now like we're borrowing before.
Okay, but we are borrowing.
We are borrowing, but we're not doing badly now as we were doing badly before. Look,
but Nigerians would beg to disagree with that. We're not doing badly.
Well, that is their opinion. I'm an economist and I know what I'm saying, and I believe Tinubu's actions, yes, painful, but they are the best for the country.
So what are we borrowing for right now? What are we borrowing for?
What are we?
What are we borrowing for right now?
Well, you understand that part of the borrowing you see around is also tied to corruption. We're not going to cast away corruption immediately, and it will gradually go away. And I believe with time, the Tinubu administration will probably be seen to have done the right thing in removing subsidies. Yes, we must continue to raise our voice to ask, what are you doing with the money you're borrowing? Where are you putting this money you're borrowing? What kind of, where are the accountings for the monies you borrowed and what you use them for? We must not stop in raising our voices to demand for a better country. And that's the beauty about opposition politics.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Doctor, the president said this is 18 months in service in power, and you're saying we should be patient with him. He has already spent 18 months in power. How much longer do we need to be patient for the 4 years tenure to elapse?
If you could keep quiet at the murderous 8 years of Buhari, I think we should just give some time to Tinubu and see how the thing comes around.
But Nigerians
We must take the blame for what happened under Buhari because we were docile. And being docile means you are some way, somehow, part of the crime because under law, will be found guilty of negligence. It is our duty to raise our voices in a democracy and not to be docile like we were under Buhari. That's why the things got this bad. So let us politely start to demand for a better country, and I bet you things will get well as we move on.
Right. Dr. Kach, many Nigerians as well, even we of this realm, will say maybe many Nigerians were never docile. The media were never docile. You yourself, I remember seeing you on many occasions, spoke to issues, especially on security. You have always been big on security. But it was like the people were helpless then. But then if you say we can do more right now, Nigerians will agree. But before we leave this particular segment, part of what the president said yesterday was that the hallmark of a good leader is to do what needs to be done at the right time. And that is my philosophy. He went further to say, it is not going to be El Dorado for everybody, but the new dawn is here. I am convinced, and you should be convinced, and you should help to propagate that conviction. But Dr. Kach, some will say, the president is saying it's not El Dorado for everybody. Nigerians will disagree and say, for you, your family, the cabinet members, the whole legislature at the national level, it has always been El Dorado. You changed from a Maybach to a Cadillac Escalade, bulletproof. You bought a new PJ, and you are saying it's not El Dorado. If there is anybody that is not enjoying El Dorado, is the other maybe less than 200 million Nigerians. The majority of the people are the ones suffering. The president is saying it's not El Dorado for everybody. Do you agree? Nigerians will say that is not correct. It has been El Dorado for you and the ruling class. And that is the grasp of many Nigerians with the president. Show us by leadership.
The ruling class you're talking about are very few people. You're talking about 1% of the population.
But they are spending
if 1% of the population are getting something to move on, it does not mean that the families of members of that 1% are all happy. There are a lot of places where the extended families of some of these politicians also cry, as me and you do cry. I agree you saw how very, very, very pungent I was in those days fighting I've been fighting the ills in society and fighting corruption to the extent that Vice President Osinbajo threatened publicly that he was going to remove his immunity and sue me to court. Of course, I called his bluff, knowing very well there's no way Osinbajo will ever resign from his office because he didn't understand what he was saying. When he said he would take me to court, it is not him, Yemi Osinbajo, that is in the immunity. The immunity is on the office. I knew Yemi would never resign from office to come and take me to court. So I called his bluff and he didn't do anything. So what I'm trying to tell you is the president is one person, the VP is another, members of National Assembly are another. It does not represent the population. It is not yet El Dorado for Nigerians. No, that you see corruption in government, that's not El Dorado. Corruption is a bad way. It doesn't describe the entire Nigerian citizenry. No, Nigeria is corrupt because Nigeria is a country, not yet a nation, because some people seek Nigeria on their own terms. Now, we have to be up and doing. Get away from our docile membrane and speak up for the good of country.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kach. We take a break right now. The president said so many things, and we'll allow our viewers to, get another angle of what he said via this break. When we return, we now speak, to the economy and, of course, the unfortunate stampede that resulted into death in, different regions of the country. Stay with us.